All right, let's see here. Is that all good to go? We're going to read the Gospel of Truth this beautiful Saturday evening. The Gospel of Truth. Is it, though? I don't know. I'm unsure. I'm undecided. We'll see. We will see. All right, we're good. Beautiful. Surprise Saturday night Bible study. Surprise maybe every Saturday night. We're going to see. I'm considering it. It is under consideration. If you're watching this later, because we don't normally do any streaming on Saturday, we have a Discord. There is a link to the Discord pinned in the live chat. There's a link to the Discord in the description of the video. We do a bunch of live streams every week going over the Bible. If you join Discord, you can see the schedule for them. We also do game night some Saturdays. We're doing game night tonight. And we might start streaming on Saturday too, like Bible stuff. But on Sunday night, we do canonical text. On Tuesday, we do a topic discussion that's voted upon. Whatever wins is what we talk about. And then Thursday, we do extra canonical stuff, similar to what we're doing right now. And by similar, I mean the same. So Discord's great. Join Discord. Super smart people who want to learn smart people stuff. I think. That's my opinion. I think it's a valid opinion. Tonight's the Gospel of Truth, though. So the Gospel of Truth is one of the texts found within the Nag Hammadi library. This was a beautiful discovery in Egypt in 1945 that resulted in us getting a lot of texts that some we already had, some were confirmation of texts we already had, some were completely new, things that we did not have. So really cool, really profound, really important discovery. Pia, it's so lovely to see you. It's so good to see you. It's always not good when you are not around. Very happy, even if you leave now. Very happy I got to see you. So this is from the Nag Hammadi library. Get this out of my ears. There we go. Yes. Yes, you. You are lovely. And then I'll open Discord just in case. But I don't expect a lot of us to be here tonight. I love you, Pia. We all love you. Hey, Ghost. All right, so the Nag Hammadi library is super important. A lot of really cool discoveries came from this. And this is one of them. This is the Gospel of Truth. Unlike canonical Christian texts, this is their introduction, just so some of it will be review for most of us. Unlike canonical Christian texts, which predominantly focus on the narrative events of Jesus' life and teaching, the Gospel of Truth is more of a treatise or sermon that delves into the theological and philosophical aspects of Gnostic Christianity. The text is attributed to Valentinian, a prominent early Christian Gnostic theologian. This we brushed on the Gnosticism Tuesday discussion, because we spoke very briefly about like the Valentinian version of Gnosticism, how some of them have different numbers of deities and things like that. Little nuances, not dissimilar from denominations in Christianity. Still finishing up grocery shopping. Not dissimilar from denominations, so very similar stuff. So Valentinus was very prominent, and a lot of the normal theologians, I guess I'd call them, the proto-Orthodox theologians, disliked all of this stuff. So this is one of the texts that we got. He was a prominent early Christian Gnostic theologian, although direct authorship remains a topic of debate among scholars. Composed in a mid-2nd century AD, it offers a reflection on the nature of truth, the fallen state of humanity, and the role of Jesus as the Redeemer in Gnostic thought. Central to the Gospel of Truth is the Gnostic worldview, which posits a fundamental dualism, a stark division between the spiritual realm of light and truth and the material world, seen as a realm of ignorance and suffering. Jesus is portrayed not just as a savior, but as a revealer of knowledge, guiding souls back to the divine source. The text was not included in the Christian biblical canon, primarily because its teachings diverge significantly from Orthodox Christian doctrine, yet it remains an invaluable artifact for understanding the breadth and depth of early Christian thought, showcasing a different perspective on salvation, knowledge, and the nature of God and reality. This is a complete compilation of texts. Just a heads up, and I can put it in Discord if anybody wants it. But it has all kinds of what are considered to be Gnostic texts, and I've read it numerous times. And it's like the real deal. It's the almost full compilation, and so we have stuff to read for years, basically. David, good to see you, good sir. As always, David, you've been killing it on the after the live stream ends doing the comment thing. I appreciate that because it helps. From what I understand, it helps. Old Pure Blood is back. If it should be granted that true felicity consists in them, then men should not be esteemed by what they are, but by that they possess. And then a man's full bag is better than himself. What is that one from? From what you said last time, you're just copying and pasting stuff. Where are you getting them from? Just out of curiosity. So this is the first section of the Gospel of Truth. Joy to those who have knowledge of the Father. The Gospel of Truth, brings joy to those who have received the grace of knowing the Father of truth through the power of the Word. This Word originates from the fullness and resides in the thoughts and the minds of the Father. This figure is known as the Savior, and that is the task he must undertake to redeem those who are unaware of the Father. The name of the gospel signifies the revelation of hope, as it uncovers the truth for those who are in search of it. This is because all existence sought the one from whom it originated. Everything resides within him, that boundless and indescribable entity who surpasses every conceivable thought. Just brief side note reminder that Gnostics, obviously the knowledge is everything. Gnosis means knowledge. So very important. But one of the other key fundamental worldview aspects is the fact that they truly believe that God is inconceivable. So they described it just now as the indescribable entity, indescribable. Whereas Christians, mainstream, we often like to describe the entity. We like to describe who God is, what God is. The Gnostics don't really do much of that because they believe it's fruitless. It's outside of our conception. An indescribable entity who surpasses every conceivable thought, which I very much align with personally. And I've talked about ad nauseum, and I'm sure it's very annoying. Ignorance of the Father leads to mistakes. The lack of awareness about the Father resulted in terror and apprehension. This fear thickened like a dense fog, obscuring vision and understanding. Consequently, error gained strength and influence. It diligently worked on its material facade, but in vain, for it lacked an understanding of truth. It assumed a fabricated form while it was in the process of creating a substitute for truth, marked by power and superficial beauty. Yet, this scenario did not belittle the limitless and beyond comprehension entity. Terror, forgetfulness, and the deceptive facade of falsehood were insignificant compared to unchanging, serene, and utterly exquisite established truth. Hey, look, it's L. I've been seeing a lot of Gospel of Barnabas. Let me fix this real quick. Oh, you're not going to fix for me, are you? Yeah, it is. There we go. All right. L said, I've been seeing a lot of Gospel of Barnabas, Thomas stuff on social media. Not interested in delving into that content, but wondering your thoughts on why non-canonical books are becoming popular. I can't really speak to that more than my own opinion. So we've been talking about it more because I've always read it, and I guess we just I don't remember exactly how it came up, but it's interesting contextually, if nothing else. You can ignore it. You can say it's not inspired. I don't personally have any problem with that. I don't put a lot of weight in a lot of things, but the information is still good. The context is still good. At least having an understanding of the culture, if nothing else. A lot of these texts are still dated to around and some before the scripts that we call inspired. So even if you're this is absolute garbage, it's a fairy tale, it's heresy, whatever, you're still it's literature from the same time. So it adds context. It gives you a different perspective of what was going on, what people were thinking, how is the church divided? Why were these people so thoughtfully ignorant? And why did these people hate them so much? It provides context for that. That's why I like it, and that's why I think it's important to read it. The same reason we're reading the Book of Giants. That's no different. These are all extra canonical, non-canonical texts. Thomas is really interesting. Barnabas is also really interesting. Judas is super interesting. A lot of them are really, really interesting texts. Even if at the end of it, you're this is absolute nonsense. I think it's still beneficial to read it. So we're going to keep doing it at least on Thursday, if not some on Saturday. The other thing too is people have read the Bible 100,000 times. And I, from what I have gathered personally and with other people, is that when you start reading some of the stuff that didn't make it, if nothing else, maybe you understand more the text that did make it and why. Oh, this is why we canonize these texts. And this is why we did not canonize these texts. If nothing else, maybe you get that. But it's it's a personal thing. Some people just want nothing to do with it. And some people like me, I'll read it, whatever it is. I want to read whatever there is. Sorry for the long answer. Therefore, it's important not to grant excessive importance to error. Error, being rootless, remained in darkness about the Father. It manufactured illusions, forgetfulness, and anxieties in order to deceive those in the middle and to hold them captive. The obscured nature of terror remained hidden. It didn't attain enlightenment alongside the Father, even though it existed as a consequence of him. Forgetfulness was not intrinsic to the Father. In him resides knowledge, which was unveiled to eradicate forgetfulness and to reveal the Father. As forgetfulness stemmed from a lack of knowledge about the Father, its existence would cease as soon as the Father became known. This section is titled, Jesus Symbolizes Knowledge's Fruit. This is the gospel of the one they seek, which he revealed to the perfected ones through the Father's compassionate grace as a concealed mystery. Jesus, the Anointed. Go said, I don't think added context is ever a bad thing. I 100% agree. Yeah, it's always good. Even if it just cements you further in what you already believe. It's good stuff. Super important. Through him, Jesus the Anointed, through him, those lost in the darkness due to forgetfulness were enlightened. He illuminated their path by imparting the truth he taught them. Thus, error grew resentful of him and pursued him with hostility. Yet she could not prevail. She was rendered powerless. He was affixed to a tree, becoming the embodiment of the Father's knowledge. Although those who partook of this knowledge ate the fruit, he did not condemn them for it. Instead, their consumption led to the joyful revelation of this truth regarding him. He discovered them within himself, and they discovered him within themselves, the immeasurable, inconceivable one, the perfect Father who created all. He is the repository of the entire realm, yet the realm is deficient without him. He retains their perfection within him, a perfection not equally bestowed upon all. The Father is not envious, after all. What room is there for envy between him and his members? Even if these eternal beings had attained their perfection, they still couldn't approach the Father's perfection. He preserves their perfection within himself, offering it as a means for them to return to him and as a unique form of perfected knowledge. He is the orchestrator of order, existing within all, and yet, paradoxically, all also lack him. As someone unfamiliar to some, he desires that they come to know and love him. What did they lack? It was nothing but the knowledge of the Father. The next section is Jesus as the gentle guide. Pureblood said mistakes about faith have their spring and origin found in humane wisdom. It's a very elegant way to spell wisdom. I like it. David said added context, eliminate single-mindedness. That's the one right there, boy. That's the one. I agree. It at least forces you to consider something else other than, and the biggest thing is I just feel like Christians specifically have been raised to believe things so harshly that they've just never, a lot of us, you didn't even consider anything else for a long time. And then if you, for some reason, wander off the path for a minute and realize all of this exists, I think it's much more dangerous to have never had it introduced to you. I think that's why, to answer Elle's earlier question, I think that's why it's becoming popular. I think so many Christians didn't know it existed, or they did, but in a very obscure way, like almost that it wasn't real. And as the internet's blown and these start to gain traction, I think a lot of Christians are going to trip and fall right into them because it's new, it's different, it's interesting. A lot of it actually does make a lot of sense. I wouldn't be surprised if Gnosticism really has kind of a kick. And from the person we had on the stream on Tuesday, whose son is like apparently in some weird modern version of Gnosticism that, in my opinion, doesn't align with the historical Gnosticism, it seems like it's taking on a new thing, almost like Mormonism, which I think is very dangerous. So it's another good reason to at least to some degree understand what it is, even if it is just to reject it. Pureblood said, it is their animality and want of spirituality that doth put them upon misjudging of this to be foolishness. I want to know where you're pulling these from, bro. Al said, thanks for thoughts. I agree. It does illuminate the ordained or inspired nature of the Bible almost as a discernment drill. I really like that. That's a great way to say it. That's a really great way to say it. A discernment drill. I like that a lot. That's phenomenal. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I really like that. I'm totally stealing that. I apologize in advance. It's a great way to put it. Jesus as the gentle guide. Jesus, and two, just think like apologetics wise. Apologetically. If you have this, when we get somebody like Tuesday, I think it was a mom whose son is like in that weird, crazy, modern, Gnostic, Mormon type thing. If you understand this and you've read it, you can be like, that's not even Gnosticism. This is actually what the Gnostics believe. You can practice apologetics more. You can evangelize better because we know the information. Same reason I think Christians should understand some of Islam, some of what the Mormons believe, all that stuff. It's, if nothing else, learn how to defend what you believe in a logical, rational way. Jesus assumed the role of a gentle and composed guide. In the midst of a gathering, he arrived and shared his teachings as a teacher, as one does. Some who considered themselves wise approached him, attempting to challenge him. However, he exposed their lack of true understanding, revealing them as individuals lacking substance. Their animosity towards him stemmed from their actual lack of wisdom. Subsequently, even the young children, those possessing the Father's knowledge, approached him. As they matured, they were instructed in the different aspects of the Father's essence. They gained knowledge and recognition, and in turn, they bestowed honor and praise. This process led to their glorification as they both acknowledged and were acknowledged. In this mutual exchange, they were elevated and brought glory. Now, the living book within the hearts of the children. The essence of life was unveiled inside the innocent souls of the young children. The book had been deeply ingrained in the Father's thoughts and consciousness, existing inside him even before the inception of everything. This specific book remained inaccessible to anybody until the appointed moment arrived for the chosen individual to acquire it and undergo sacrifice. Prior to that point, none of the individuals who had a belief in salvation were able to attain it. Thus, Jesus, who was both compassionate and trustworthy, bore his afflictions with patience until he finally obtained possession of that book. He comprehended that his own demise would result in vitality for several others, similar to how a will stays undisclosed until it is unsealed. The wealth of the deceased master remains hidden. Likewise, all that was concealed before the Father, who is the origin of all places, became evident via Jesus. His intention was to present that book, and by means of his crucifixion, he affixed the decision of the Father to the cross. Old Mikkel, the Gospel of our Lord. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. This instruction is deep. Jesus demonstrated profound humility by willingly accepting death, although possessing everlasting life. By discarding his earthly attire, he assumed an incorruptible state that was impervious to being deprived from him. He bravely explored the terrifying unknown, encountering individuals who had lost their memories. He epitomized both erudition and flawlessness, unveiling the enigmas of the paternal heart. Consequently, he became the source of knowledge for people who accepted his guidance. Nevertheless, the persons who are intended to receive instruction, namely those who are recorded in the book of life, acquire knowledge autonomously. They seek counsel from their Father and once again rely on him. Since the Father represents the epitome of excellence in all aspects, it is crucial for all individuals to strive towards him. Consequently, people who possess knowledge get their proper legacy and attract it towards themselves. Ignorance denotes a state of insufficiency, a notable absence, since it excludes what may contribute to perfection. Since the Father embodies absolute perfection, it is imperative for everyone to strive towards reaching him. Every person should get what is properly theirs. The lessons were first recorded and prepared to be shared with people who originated from him. The next section is called The Father's Call to Those with Knowledge, Gnosis. The individuals whose names he was familiar with in advance were summoned last, ensuring that the person whose name the Father had said is the one possessing information. Being anonymous equates to lacking knowledge. What a zinger. Being anonymous equates to lacking knowledge. How can one perceive the existence of a name if it has not been vocalized? Individuals that persist in their lack of knowledge until the conclusion are subject to the influence of forgetting, and they will meet their demise alongside it. If this is not the case, then why are these individuals devoid of both designation and the ability to express themselves? Hence, everyone who has knowledge is of superior origin. Upon receiving a call, they promptly perceive the sound, react, and direct their attention towards the person making the call. Very interesting. They rise to him and understand their own designation. With their acquired knowledge, they carry out the desires of the one who summoned them. Their objective is to satisfy him, attain tranquility, and get an exclusive designation. Individuals that acquire knowledge possess a comprehension of their beginning and their ultimate purpose. Their experience may be likened to that of a someone who, after being inebriated, consciously abstains from alcohol, regains their mental clarity, and recovers their belongings. I want to read that again because that was very interestingly written. It says their experience may be likened to that of a someone who, after being inebriated, consciously abstains from alcohol, regains their mental clarity, and recovers their belongings. It's very interestingly said. He led many people away from making mistakes. He went ahead of them to their individual locations, which they had veered away from when they wandered off because of the vastness of the entity that embraces all areas. However, there is no entity or concept that fully covers him. It was very astonishing that they were in the presence of their Father without recognizing him, and that they were able to leave on their own, while not being able to comprehend or acknowledge the person they were with. His will had not yet manifested. He disclosed it as a piece of information that all his manifestations comprehended. The information is encapsulated inside the living book, which he ultimately revealed to the immortal creatures in the form of his writing. He demonstrated to them that these letters are not just vowels or consonants that can be read and understood without any significance. Instead, they are epistles that communicate veracity. They are only articulated when they are recognized. Every typo? Every letter represents an absolute truth, akin to a flawless literary work. The letters were penned by Unity's hand as the Father authored them for the immortal entities. These entities acquired knowledge about the parent via correspondence. The next section is called the Father's Call to Those with Knowledge. The individuals whose names the Father was already aware of were called last, ensuring that the person whose name the Father said, do you go backwards? Hold on. Weird. It's doubled. He led many other... Blah, blah, blah. Super odd. That's identical. Okay, the next one. The Son of the Father is Jesus, the sweetness of perfection. He ponders the word with great wisdom. He articulates it via his teachings. His knowledge has unveiled it. His honor adorns it like a crown. His pleasure aligns perfectly with it. His glory has elevated it. His image has unveiled it. His rest has welcomed it. His love has manifested it. His truth has accepted it. Therefore, the word of the Father is disseminated to everyone, serving as the product of his innermost being and the manifestation of his intentions. It supports, selects, and assumes the characteristics of all entities. It cleanses individuals, guiding them towards the Father, the Mother, and Jesus, who embodies unparalleled kindness. The Father reveals his innermost being, and his innermost being is the Holy Spirit. He discloses his concealed essence, which is his offspring. By virtue of the Father's compassion, immortal entities get knowledge of him, cease their quest for the Father, and find solace in him, acknowledging this as a genuine repose. Once he completed what was unfinished, he rendered its shape void. The world which serviced it is the shape of what was unfinished. Envy and discord are indicative of incompleteness. However, oneness is synonymous with completion. Incompleteness emerged due to their lack of knowledge of the Father. Upon acquiring knowledge of the Father, the state of incompleteness will be eradicated. Very interesting. Ignorance is eradicated by the acquisition of knowledge, just as darkness is dispelled by the presence of light. Similarly, incompleteness will be eliminated by the attainment of wholeness. The form will cease to exist and merge into a state of oneness. Their actions are now dispersed, but through unification, their areas will ultimately be integrated. By fostering a sense of oneness, individuals will have a deeper understanding of themselves, and by acquiring knowledge, they will cleanse themselves of complexity and achieve a state of unity. They will devour stuff within, like to fire consuming darkness and light overpowering death. It's so wildly poetic. It is beautiful. It really is. Breaking defective dishes when moving. Okay. When such occurrences have transpired for each individual, it is fitting for us to thoroughly contemplate all aspects in order to concentrate the dwelling and provide a tranquil environment conducive to harmony. Similar to those who have relocated from a residence, they may own some flawed dishes, which are damaged. Nevertheless, the homeowner does not experience any loss, but rather feels joy as the faulty dishes are replaced with completely flawless ones. This is the divine verdict that has been issued and has evaluated every individual. A dual-purpose weapon that cuts on both sides. When the word residing inside the hearts of all who utter it manifests, it transformed from mere sound into a physical form. A significant disruption took place among the plates, as some were emptied, while others were filled. Some were attended to, while others were taken away. Some were cleansed, while others were shattered. Every place was jolted and disrupted, devoid of serenity and steadiness. The error was perplexed, unsure of how to proceed. She was distressed, mournful, and perplexed, since she comprehended nothing. When wisdom, which eradicates mistakes, met her with all its manifestations, error became devoid, as there was nothing inside of her. The concept of truth manifested, and all its manifestations acknowledged it. They really welcomed the Father with an absolute authority that binds them to the Father. The next section is called Truth is the Father's Expression. Truth is universally adored since it represents the authentic manifestation of the Father. The Holy Spirit is represented by his tongue. Those who come in contact with the truth also come into contact with the Father's manifestation via their speech, particularly when they receive the Holy Spirit. This is the Father's embodiment and disclosure to his everlasting entities. He divulged the concealed contents of his being and provided an explanation of it. Who exists if not the Father? All spaces are manifestations that originated from him. They were aware of their origin, like children born from an ideal guy. They were aware that they had not yet acquired a physical structure or a designated identity, both of which are created by the Father. Although they may possess the outward appearance of his knowledge, if they are actually inside him, they do not possess a genuine understanding of him. However, the Father is flawless, possessing complete knowledge of every area inside him. He bestows shape and identity onto anybody he chooses. He brings names into existence. Individuals who have not yet come into being are oblivious to the existence of their Creator. I acknowledge that individuals who do not now exist are not devoid of existence. Rather, they exist inside him. And at his discretion, he may will their existence into being. That's really interesting. I want to read that again. It said, I acknowledge that individuals who do not now exist are not devoid of existence. Rather, they exist inside him. And at his discretion, he may will their existence into being, much like an anticipated occurrence. That's really beautifully interesting. Changing beautiful for magnificent was feeling insecure. I think magnificent is a valid term as well. Prior to its revelation, he has foreknowledge of the product he will create. But the yet-to-be-revealed outcome remains ignorant and devoid of being. Each spatial dimension within the concept of the Father originates from the preceding one, which is established by the absence of existence. This is really beautifully put. All of this is phenomenally put. Those who lack a foundation will not provide any results. Despite their belief in their existence, they will ultimately cease to exist. Therefore, anybody who does not now exist will never come into being. Very interesting. David says, set out 4 counterfeit $100 bills and 1 real one. Discerning the 5 together easily reveals the true bill. That's also very well said. Yeah, that's a good way to picture it. Yup. I mean, some of this is just very interestingly worded. The next section, waking up and coming to knowledge. What are the thoughts of the individual whom the Father wishes to educate? Quote, I resembled the obscure and spectral entities that appear during the nighttime. End quote. However, by the arrival of dawn, they came to the realization that the terror they had encountered was baseless. They lacked knowledge of the Father, whom they had not witnessed. Anxiety, perplexity, self-doubt, skepticism, and discord resulted in the multitude of false perceptions and uninformed awarenesses. They seemed to be in a profound state of sleep, trapped by unsettling nightmares. Within these nightmares, individuals may find themselves either fleeting or lacking the necessary fortitude to break out. They may engage in acts of aggression or be subjected to acts of aggression, experience falls from significant heights, or achieve flight without the use of wings. Occasionally, individuals may have the delusion of being relentlessly chased to the point of death, despite the absence of any actual pursuers. Alternatively, they may engage in harmful actions that result in the contamination of persons in their vicinity with their own blood. You know what that's relating to. Until those who have had these experiences and been involved in these confusions achieve awakening, they remain oblivious to reality, since the dreams they have been experiencing are nothing more than illusions. This is wild. Those who reject ignorance as easily as they would abandon a dream to fail. Those who reject ignorance as easily as they would abandon a dream fail to recognize its reality. They reject it like a fleeting dream and see the wisdom of the Father as the break of day. Each individual has been behaving as if in a state of unconsciousness throughout the time of unawareness, and they gradually comprehend things as if they are emerging from sleep. Fortunate is the one who becomes aware of their own existence. Truly may blessings be bestowed onto the one who enables the visually impaired to regain their sight. The spirit quickly approaches the one who has become conscious, reaching out to the individual who is prone on the ground. It assists them in getting up, since they have not yet managed to stand. This allows people to get the understanding of the Father and the unveiling of his Son as they perceive and hear. They are allowed to experience the taste, scent, and touch of the living Son. The next one is the Son reveals the word of the Father. The Son manifested, imparting the wisdom of the Father, the infinite one. He conveyed the knowledge and understanding that was in the Father's thoughts while fulfilling his will. A multitude of individuals enthusiastically accepted the illumination and redirected their attention towards him. Nevertheless, these preoccupied with worldly matters remained disconnected from him, unable of discerning his presence. Those preoccupied with worldly matters remained disconnected from him. He manifested in the form of a person, yet his presence was unstoppable, since anything that cannot be corrupted is also invincible. By imparting original knowledge and articulating the deepest thoughts of the Father, he declared a perfect message. His lips emitted radiant light. His words bestowed existence onto all things. He granted them comprehension, empathy, deliverance, and the fortitude of the Spirit derived from the limitless and delightful essence of the Father. He abolished penalties and chastisements, since they were leading those who needed compassion to deviate from him, trapped by falsehood and bondage. He effortlessly overcame these difficulties, mocking them with his extensive knowledge. He served as a guide for those who were lost, enlightenment for those without information, a revelation for those searching, and a pillar of strength for those filled with fear. He provided purity to those who were contaminated. And that's the end. He provided purity for those who were contaminated. Next section is the Son is the shepherd of the one lost sheep. He resembles the shepherd who abandoned the 99 sheep that had not wandered and embarked on a quest to find the one that was lost. This should sound familiar. He had great joy at discovering it. The number 99 is represented by the left hand, but he locates the missing sheep. The complete number is shifted to the right hand. This phenomena is akin to a someone who is lacking something. The whole of the right hand is drawn towards this shortfall, causing it to shift from the left side to the right side. Thus, the number transforms into 100, representing the concept of oneness. This highlights the importance of the numerical sounds, which symbolize the Father. He diligently labored on the Sabbath to rescue the sheep that had accidentally fallen into the pit. He rescued the sheep, lifting it out of the abyss and saving its life. This exemplifies the significance of the Sabbath, since those who comprehend with their hearts are aware that it is a day when salvation should not be inactive. Therefore, let us discuss the celestial day, devoid of darkness, and the always shining sun, which remains flawless. Declare within yourself that you embody an impeccable day and that you possess an unwavering radiance. David said, but the discrepancies of the counterfeit bills increase our knowledge of the details of the real bills by forcing us to study and compare all five. Yes. Added detail. That was a good way to It's like proof of concept in a sense. Yes, if nothing else, a little light should be going off in your head. Like, I see. Al said, it is he who makes us anew. If we knew everything, ever it still wouldn't change our hearts. We are sinful. Know better, do better is a farce. Source Judas. Yeah. Putting knowledge into practice. Convey the truth to those who are actively searching for it, and impart wisdom to those who have unknowingly committed crimes. Empower those who falter and reach out to the infirm. Alleviate the hunger of individuals and provide comfort to those experiencing hardship. Rouse the slumbering individuals and elevate them. You possess the comprehension that comprehends you. You possess the comprehension that comprehends you. That's like one of the other things. There's been, regardless of feelings about any of it, there's a lot of like things that have already been said that are like good things. These are like interesting concepts. And many of them are mirrored. Like a lot of them are things that we already believe. They're just coming from a source you may not trust, but the principle or the statement in many cases is identical. But oftentimes seemingly said in a different way. So there are good things being said, but maybe different than we had heard them before, which is just interesting. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's good. It's not new content. It's not leading somebody astray. Those parts, those are just the same thing you already believe or something you already know that are being expressed in a way that maybe you haven't heard before. And that's a lot of why I value some of this stuff. It's interesting. Different little, neurons firing and whatnot. Should the strong choose to pursue this course, they will undoubtedly enhance their strength further. Direct your attention on yourself and refrain from becoming preoccupied with external things that you have deliberately discarded and disregarded. Avoid revisiting them for consumption. Refrain from being consumed by moths or worms. Refuse to become a habitation for the malevolent forces. You have already triumphed over them. See, like, that's a great line. Refuse to become a habitation for the malevolent forces. You have already triumphed over them. It's just a straight up good line. Well said. True enough. Good stuff. Abstain from reinforcing your ultimate defenses, since it is shameful. The unlawful individual is inconsequential. They inflict more damage upon themselves than they do upon the law. He carries out his actions due to his disregard for the law. Nevertheless, the virtuous individual carries out actions in the presence of others. Carry out the desires of the Father, since you originate from him. Another good one, good example. Carry out the desires of the Father, since you originated from him. Patricia. Hey, yo, good to see you. The sweetness of the Father. The Father is pleasant, and his desire is commendable. He comprehends your possessions, allowing you to discover tranquility inside of them. Through the evidence of their actions and accomplishments, one may identify the true nature of individuals and determine that they are really the offspring of their Father. One might perceive his fragrance, indicating that you come from his benevolence. Therefore, the Father has a deep affection for his fragrance, which becomes evident in all locations. When combined with the matter, he imparts his fragrance to the light, leading it to rise and find rest in many forms and sounds. The sense of smell, possessed by the Spirit, is responsible for perceiving and absorbing the perfume of the Father, rather than the ears. The Spirit attends to and transports it to its beginning, the primary fragrance that has cooled down. The mental manifestation appears as liquid water that has permeated loose, non-solid soil, leading viewers to mistakenly perceive it as solid ground. Subsequently, it undergoes evaporation when it is transported by a gust of wind, resulting in an increase in temperature. The frigid scents emanate from separation. Therefore, faith emerged and eliminated separation, assuring in the profound abundance of love, ensuring that coldness does not resurface, but rather the harmony of flawless cognition reigns. Whew. That was an odd one. Totally, I agree. Very thought-provoking and helpful in many ways. Yeah, right. You just open mind. Even if not to the underlying, inspired or not nature, to it as literature, as interesting literature from the same time. Pure Blood said, it is more excellent thing to pursue the love of good or the love of truth. Is it a more excellent thing to pursue the love of good or the love of truth? It's kind of a trick question, don't you think? I guess the perspective or the context of the question matters. In like the context of God and morality, wouldn't they be synonymous? Couldn't you say that which is true from a theological perspective has to be good, and that which is good has to be true? Or am I just being a jerk about it? I'm probably just being a jerk about it. Pursuit of good or God? Well, of truth or God, right? Or no, truth or good? Love of good or love of truth? I think God is just like God is goodness. Can something be good without it being God? Would be a follow-up question. That's why I would conflate them. I don't think something could be good without it being God. I think everything that is considered good is of God. So if it is good, then it is God. And if it is God, then it is good. Here, we got more context. Would you rather experience love or have knowledge of it? Ooh. Would you rather experience love or have knowledge of it? You might have to explain that more. That's a trickier question. Can you experience love without having knowledge of it? Or could you have like applicable knowledge of love without having felt it? I feel like they're impossible questions. But maybe that's just me. And maybe I'm just being philosophically difficult, which would not be surprising. David says experience it. But how could you experience it if you don't have knowledge of it? How would you know that's what it was? Al said, that's fair, Joe, but if someone is seeking truth with no knowledge of God, how would they assume he is good? Ooh, okay, let's do this. If someone is seeking the truth with no knowledge of God, how would they assume he is good? If someone is seeking the truth, I don't think they could find the truth. Well, I think you have to go through truth to get to God. Like to get to God, you have to go through truth. Like God is found in seeking the truth. By finding God, you have run headfirst into a field of truth. Whether you acknowledge the truth or not, how would you get to God without going through the valley of truth? And you may, without experiencing or understanding you've experienced God, you may find the truth like consequentially, but then maybe you wouldn't understand what the truth was without the God aspect of it. I see God and good as just like they're synonymous terms to me. They're the same thing. I don't think good actually exists. I think it's just God. When you see a kid smile, like it's not good, it's God, like it's positivity. I see things very black and white, and that I don't think neutrality exists. I think something is either positive, being moral, or it is negative, being evil. There's a scale, the way I see it, like it's a spectrum. So it's not like not all evil is the same, and not all good or morality or moral is the same. But I don't think neutrality exists. So I think you're either doing evil, it's just a matter of how much, or you're doing good, which to me is just God. It's just a matter of how much. But I'm sure I'm in the minority looking at it like that. Good is the way, and Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. says Tampa. Seek Jesus, the rest falls into place. It's extremely true, right? Al said, God as a small g, like a creator or controller, why would you assume he's good? Well, I didn't know that was the question. If we're talking about small g gods, then I would have a different answer. Yeah. I don't think small g gods are good. I think small g gods are all evil. Again, it would just be a matter of how evil. Like all small g gods spoken about in the scriptures are evil. So if you're a biblical Christian, small g gods are, and I'm not saying that's what I am, but anybody who is like a biblical Christian, small g gods are evil, period. The only time small g gods come up in the Old Testament is in an evil context, is in a negative context. Worship, pagan worship, sacrificing to idols. It's all bad. Good is a misspelled word. Bam. I like that. What is the highest good we can achieve in our life? That's a tough question. Ghost said the only neutrality I think exists is the narrow path between carnality and spirituality. See, I don't even personally think it exists there. I think you're like, you got a big toe in. I don't know how to explain it. I get what you're saying though, and it's a fair point. I'm not sure I'm with it 100%, but I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah, it's fair. It is fair. This is one of those ones I struggle with, and I know that I'm very much in the minority with it. And I've come to terms with that. I've had a hard time trying to rewire that part of myself. I just have a very hard time with it. The highest good, therefore, of this life is that which makes man happy on earth, most perfect and happy. Is that what? Are we talking about like having babies? I read that very literally, so I hope that you meant it literally. I'm not sure that you did. Ghost said, what about divine counsel, small g gods? Is God the term that's used? That's tough. That's tough. I guess to be fair, maybe yes. Do we use the same terms in the Old Testament in Hebrew? I don't, but I want to say no, but I'm very open to being wrong. I want to say the divine counsel is referred to using different Hebrew terms than the small g gods. But I'm open to being wrong. That's just the inclination I have is that's right. If they're the same terms, like if the divine counsel is referred to in Hebrew as the same terms that the small g gods are referred to, then I would have to rethink the way that I look at that, I think, to be fair. That would require me to reassess what I said a few minutes ago, for sure. That's a good point. I want to say they're different terms though, but I'm not totally confident. I'm kind of foggy mentally tonight, but Pure Blood is shooting heavy questions. I know, right? I was not ready for that. He is legit. He was here the other day, at least one day recently. And it's good stuff. Well, the last question though, oh, we answered it. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't ready for all this deep theological, philosophical stuff. I didn't even think any of y'all were going to be here, to be honest. I thought I was going to be reading to myself and just see if, how the algorithm reacted. So I was not ready for all of this. I did not come prepared. Pure Blood said, is there a difference between the highest good and the supreme good? I feel like now we're just getting semantic, though. That's, yeah, they're synonymous, wouldn't they be? I feel like unless we're being semantically picky, I feel like those would be synonymous. So if anybody disagrees, I would like to hear why. I think we're going to read one more of these, and then we will start to wrap things up. Right after this. Elle said, I don't care about small g gods. I guess I'm asking, why would any plain person pursue the love of an all-powerful being without the knowledge of their intentions or nature? purpose is so important. Is he good? Sure. I get maybe we spoke past each other earlier then. I think you have to know God is good before you seek God, I feel like. Why would you seek something you didn't think was good? And then that kind of infinitely regresses to what most of us have, some inherent natural feeling that certain things are good and certain things are bad. And one of the worst things for an atheist is trying to justify what morality is. Why is good good? Why is bad bad? And so I think a lot of us just inherently understand that morality is an objective thing. And what is that objective thing? What is the source of the objectivity of morality? And that leads to God. So if God is true, then that's where morality comes from. And if that is all true, then God is good. But yeah, I mean, fair point. I don't know if people would seek a God they didn't believe was good. But then again, some of them do. So I guess it's a fair question, actually. I mean, it's Saturday night, so I wasn't supposed to be like this. Fair enough, my friend, fair enough. He is good, but that's my own experience. Well, I agree with you. I'm right there with you. Earth good or spiritual supreme? Right, I get the question. So your question before was, Blood said, is there a difference between the highest good and the suprema good? And he or she clarified, earth good versus spiritual supreme. I get the question, but I don't think earth good is really a real thing. Isn't earth good just a passed down version of spiritual good? Or is it its own special thing? If that's the case, then I just don't think that's the case. I think what is here is an emanation of that which is spiritual, just reflected in a different way. But that's just my opinion, obviously. Mikkel was not ready for this. I said, why would you seek something if it's not good? Because it's true. I mean, some people, right? Some people would. I'm sure the vast majority would not seek it if they didn't believe it was good. But I'm sure some people would. So some people, even if they see, and I'll give a very blunt example, and you can disagree with me all day about this, and you probably will. The way Yahweh is reflected in the Old Testament is in a specific light. He is rather brutal. Oftentimes, we see him as the easily angered but justifiable, stern father, and then Jesus is more of the understanding, but still geared towards justice, but was more delicate in how he engaged with humanity. You could make the argument that Yahweh of the Old Testament did things that by human standards, which then gets really confusing, but I'll save us all, by human standards would be seen as immoral, like gnashing babies on rocks and slavery and all of these other things. There are tons of them. We could list them out if you ever listen to atheist debate people. There are plenty. You could argue that there would be humans who maybe the evidence, the truth, like El said, the truth takes them to believing that Yahweh is God. But maybe because of the Old Testament, they can't get past the fact that, well, that's evil. What he did was evil. These things were evil. So although I believe it, it's true. I don't think he's good. I'm not saying that to be super clear, but I'm saying that is a perspective that I could see people having that perspective. They could be convinced that Yahweh is God while also believing, based on the stories and what he did, that he was not a good God. So I guess that would be where I could see that happening, where they would still seek the truth, but not believe it's good. I hope that made sense. Dang, I can't answer any of these questions tonight. I'm just glad you're here, Mikkel. You made it, and that's all that matters, bro. That's all that matters. As a young boy, David said, I can remember seeing a good God in nature. That's a good example, yeah. If God was mean, he would still be God. True. But then that's about truth, not about goodness. God, you feel me? What? As an old man, I still see a good God in nature. Yeah, God in nature is a real thing. Cat. God is nature. Right. Right. I agree. The greatest part that we know is the least part of that we know not. The greatest part of that we know is the least part of that we know not. That's a good one too, man. What do you do over there? Are you just like sitting at a computer with a database of quotes in one window and the stream up in the other window? Do you have 30 YouTube live streams open right now and you're just funneling quotes in? Are you AI? Are you even a real person? Actually, I feel like that's a valid question nowadays. I'm starting to think pureblood is not a real person. We are made with such natures as to be deceived in those things that appear most evident to us. We are made with such natures as to be deceived in those things that appear most evident to us. Is that a question? I feel like Mikkel, but I don't even drink. That one went right over my head. Unless the punctuation was a mistake, in which case it makes a lot. Oh, he is a real person. Can you tell me too, are you male or female? Because I don't want to call you a girl or a guy if I don't know. Well, I would like to get to know you better, pure blood. I have a lot of notes. Well, I feel you on that. I have endless notes and quotes. David said, as you can tell, my quotes are self-made. Your quotes are authentic. Your quotes are raw. The money illustration earlier was very good. I like that. The dollar bills. That's a very good way to illustrate for someone what we were talking about at the beginning. I thought that was well done. Triple A beef. Triple AAA beef. I have no idea what's going on at this point. I feel very lost. Very, very lost. And it's 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna start wrapping up. This was meant to just be a test, and this became deeply philosophical and theological, and whatever. But I did not sign up for this, and I was not ready for it. So be patient and gentle with me. We are, I think, gonna do game night tonight in 1 hour. So at 8 o'clock. If you want to do game night, you just need to be on Discord. And then we hold it in the voice chat in the academic corner. So the same place Off Topic is. I'll just start the voice chat. I put the game up on the screen in Discord so you can see it. And then you'll need another device. So like computer phone, tablet phone, 2 phones, I guess, if you have a work phone. And it's like trivia and drawing, and it's silly stuff, but it's fun. It's a good time. So I think we're going to do that at 8 o'clock Central Time. So 1 hour from now. With that too, Saturdays are a maybe. I'm not sure. I wanted to test and see kind of how it went. But tomorrow we're on like normal for the canon, and we are just starting the book of Job, which is one of, if not my favorite canonical text. So I'm stoked about that. It's going to get deeply theological, and I'll be ready for it, unlike tonight, AAA beef man. So that'll be good. Tuesday's topic discussion. I am just making executive decision, mostly because I keep forgetting to post the poll, but also because we kind of agreed on a topic on Tuesday to stay in the zone of what we've been talking about. So I think we're going to like do an overview of Marcion. If not that, then something early Christian history around the same time to add context to what we talked about last week. So we'll see about that. But Tuesday is that, and then Thursday we are continuing the Book of Giants, but also Enoch at the same time. So that will be good. And then if we end up doing next Saturday again, I'll put it on the events tab, and We'll just add it into the normal cycle. But I'm trying to figure out how to add another night every week. David, have you ever shown us a picture of your animals? Oh, when the daughters come. Okay. Yeah, you should do that. That'd be great. Animal drop in the Discord. You have an excellent mind, brother, only searching for truth. Magnificent. I know that was not to me. That has to be to Mikkel. I can only assume, because that would be the more logical direction of that comment. Ruth said we'll be home in like 15 minutes if you're still doing game night. I think I'm fine with it. So I'll send you guys a message. Maybe we start at 7:30 then. It's 9 p.m. at Eastern time. Yes. Yeah. So either 7:30 or 8 p.m. Central time. So wherever you are in relation to that. 8 o'clock at least. But I'm going to see, maybe I'll just throw it up at 7:30. Me being awake past 9 or 10 o'clock is a rare event. I have a new one. Harry the Possum? What? God doesn't have to be good. He just is. Brutal is not bad. Some folks need straightening. God being wrathful or jealous isn't a commentary on his goodness. Wrath isn't mean. Love y'all. I mean, fair enough. I would definitely argue with a lot of that, but fair enough. Love you too. Be a good conversation we can have sometime for sure. David, any parakeet? Does David have parakeet? Do you have a pet possum? What is happening? Pete the pigeon and Perry the possum? Good God. Cat's very jealous of you, I can tell you that. All right, y'all. I'm gonna shut this down. We're either doing game night in 20 minutes or in 50 minutes. 50. 20 minutes or 50 minutes. So just pay attention to the voice chat in the Discord. If it's up, then it's game on. You just need a device to be able to play. There was something else I was going to say, and now I do not recall at all because of the possum and the parakeets and the pigeon. And now I'm wondering why all of these are pea animals. Do we have some affinity for pea animals? PSA, David is rad. That is fact. All right, I'm out. If you guys, please remember to do YouTube stuff, like it. Once I shut it down, if you could, wait 5 seconds and then leave a regular comment. The YouTube chat doesn't count. Comments after help the algorithm and all that. That would be great. I would appreciate it. It brings more people like Pure Blood in, which has been a phenomenal addition already. Albeit a rough one tonight. Ill prepared for him and his, yeah, he said man. Him and his shenanigans tonight. And Mikkel was ill-sobered for his shenanigans tonight. Porky the Pig, too. This is getting ridiculous. All right, I'm leaving. I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow night for the Book of Job. Have a lovely evening. Good night.